The story takes place during a time of turmoil, as a crying mother hides her son and tells him to stay hidden. As the boy hides behind a scrap of metal, the boy could hear gunshots fly as he heard many people screaming in fear and agony. The boy stayed hidden until he could no longer hear anything, and when he shed the heap of metal and left from his hiding spot, he could only look in horror as he saw the hundreds of dead bodies on the ground. He walked through the garden of corpses and eventually found his own mother laying lifeless on the ground, with a chunk of her head blown off her body. The boy tried to piece her back together, but the remains of her brain kept sliding off her head. Regardless of the boy's effort, his mother remained dead. The reality of the situation hit the boy, and he realized that he had to keep on moving forward. And so, he did. Welcome to Raza Studios, and today we'll be going over part 1 of JH's manhwa, The Horizon. If you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and to turn on notifications for more content on your favorite webtoons and manhwa. Enjoy! Step by step, the boy followed the road ahead of him in hopes for a safer place. For the next few days, the boy fended for himself, scavenging items and finding food and water. Eventually, his journey led him to an abandoned bus, and the boy decides to stay there for the night. The next day, the boy woke up, and to his surprise, he discovered that the bus was not actually abandoned, and that it was in fact inhabited by a little girl. The two children just stared at each other. They were glad to see someone their own age alive, but they were also both too afraid to say anything to each other. But suddenly, the silence was broken by a huge explosion. Outside the bus, the two watched as soldiers and citizens ran for their lives. The boy quickly grabbed the girl and got off the bus before the bus could be hit by an explosive. The two of them ran for their lives as they watched people die from side to side. And eventually, the two of them made it out of the war zone in one piece. After catching their breath, the two children stared at each other again, and they finally broke the silence and greeted each other. From that day on, the two of them traveled together and looked after each other. They eventually found a road, and they decided to follow the road to wherever it took them, in hopes that they would find a place where they could escape the war. The boy and the girl walked down the road for days, and one day they came across a strange man. The man seemed to have regressed into his primitive nature, and he could only make animal sounds. The boy was very wary of the man, however, the girl seemed to be welcoming of him. Having the girl's approval, the man began to follow them, and he decides to start traveling with them. Nighttime arrives, and the two decide to set up camp for the night. The boy tries to take a nice sip of his water, but he is suddenly rushed by the man and robbed of his water bottle. The boy could only watch helplessly as the man chugged down all of his water. The girl tried to give the boy some of her water, but the boy stopped her, in fear that the man would take her water and drink it too. The boy came up with a plan to abandon the man as soon as the man fell asleep. Tat Knight, the boy and the girl snuck away and began to make their escape. Unluckily for them, an explosion went off at a distance, causing the man to wake up in a frenzy, as he quickly looked around for the two children. As soon as he spotted them, the man made a beeline towards them. As soon as the man caught up to them, he clung onto the girl like an infant in tears. From that day on, the man refused to sleep and stayed awake, to make sure that the two never left him again. Noticing this, the boy used this to his advantage. He decided to wait until the man could no longer stay awake, and take that chance to escape. Days go by, and every day the man became more tired and struggled to keep his eyelids open. Eventually, the man's exhaustion built up, and he was no longer able to stay awake. He fell to the ground, crying and begging for the kids to not leave him. His cries reached the girl, and the girl was able to convince the boy to let the man accompany them. Although the boy agreed to let the man accompany them, he still did not trust the man. He worried that the man might steal the girl from him and leave him alone. One day, while scavenging through dead bodies, the boy found a knife, and when no one was looking, he slipped it into his satchel. That night, the girl apologized to the boy for making the boy feel uncomfortable by convincing him to bring the man along with them. The boy accepts her apology, and she tells him her dream of a place where everyone can get along and where there is no fighting. After hearing the girl's words, the boy decided to make an effort to get along with the man. For the next few days, the boy made efforts to make the man feel more welcome, and worked on fighting with the man less, causing the three to get closer. One night, the boy and the girl watched as the summer fireflies came out and brightened up the night sky. The two held hands as they enjoyed the sight together, when suddenly the man walked up right behind the duo. He stared at the girl, as if he was in a trance, as his eyes became dilated. Out of nowhere, the man backhanded the boy, sending him flying. He then grabbed the girl and pushed her to the ground, caressing her face as he salivated from the mouth, and pulled down his pants. Before the man could do anything, the boy rushed to the girl's rescue. Brandishing his knife, and he stabbed the man many times. As the man screamed in agony, the boy grabbed the girl, and they began running away from the man. The man tried to catch up with them, as he pulled his pants up, seemingly regretting his decision, and shouting for the two to wait, when suddenly the man's leg was sniped off his body, leaving him stranded on the ground crying as he screamed, "It hurts." The boy and the girl eventually found themselves safely away from the man's clutches. As they began to unwind and process what just happened, the girl broke down and cried as the boy consoled her, until they fell asleep. The two of them continued walking down the road, as the girl tended to the boy's wounds, when suddenly the two were both shot with tranquilizer darts, and they are taken captives by some soldiers. To prevent them from running away, the mysterious soldiers broke the boy's and the girl's ankles and tied them up. As they are passing through a city, the soldiers are suddenly attacked by a mysterious sniper, and they are taken out one by one. After killing all of the soldiers, a man in a suit approaches the boy and girl, and he takes them to his house. He gives them food, water, and a place to live while they recover from their injuries. When they are well enough, the two children are taken down to the man's surveillance room. He gives them the task of watching the cameras and informing him whenever they see anything or anyone suspicious. As the boy calls out suspicious activities, the man swiftly disposes of those suspects. That night, the girl confronts the man about his methods and tells him that it's wrong to kill human beings. But the man explains to her that those men possess guns, and that a man possessing a gun is a man willing to kill for his ideals. Even though he does not want to kill, he explains to the children that they cannot protect anyone by doing nothing. Later that night, the boy asks the man to teach him how to use a gun. In the morning, the man came to bring the kids to the surveillance room, but the girl refused and told him that she doesn't feel comfortable doing surveillance. The man accepted her resolve and instead had her assist him in cooking. Days passed, and one day, while sitting in silence with the man, the boy asked him what he was writing. Before answering the boy's question, the man explained to him that the reason why a war was going on was because all men are governed by environment, emotions, instincts, memories, information, and many other things. The man told the boy that books allow you to write your thoughts without being governed or influenced by other things. It allows you to relay your story to the reader. Before ending his lecture, the man reminded the boy that to protect the ones he loves, you must be willing to think independently and rationally, even to the point of cruelty. While having dinner, the man asked the children where they planned on going after they had finished healing up. The two children look at each other and explain to the man that they do not have a specific location that they're heading for, but that they plan to keep on following the road until they find a peaceful place. But the man sadly told them that it was impossible and that eventually roads end. But the children persisted, and they refused to believe the man's words and told him that they would make it possible, to which the man wished them luck. The next evening, the boy was seen training with the man, with his last test being to kill one of the soldiers who had kidnapped him and the girl. While aiming his gun, the man pressured and tried to push the boy to pull the trigger and kill the soldier. The boy hesitated, and eventually he pulled the trigger and shot the soldier. But instead of killing the soldier, the boy shot the soldier in his leg as revenge for breaking his and the girl's ankle. When asked why he didn't just kill the soldier, the boy told the man that the soldier did not pose a threat to him, and that as a human being, he does not feel comfortable taking another person's life when they do not pose a threat to him or the people he cares about. However, the man finished the job and killed the soldier, and he told the boy that he must kill those who have been a threat to him in the past, because they may not show the same courtesy in the future. Even though the boy did not follow the man's orders, the man was glad because it showed him that the boy was not blinded by vengeance or rage. Also because if he had killed the man at that moment, the man would have had to kill the boy himself. Elsewhere, the girl was seen preparing dinner. Unfortunately, she was missing an ingredient for her recipe, and the man was nowhere to be found to assist her. And so the girl followed the trail of what seemed to be blood to the basement. She found the ingredient that she was looking for, but the trail was still going on. Eventually, the trail led the girl to a room full of soldiers hung upside down. Not far, the girl could even see trays with dismembered limbs and a hacksaw. Terrified, the girl began to stumble back, as she began to wonder if the meat that they had been eating was human flesh. The girl was about to leave until she saw a big black door. She entered the room and found a man chained to the wall. Noticing the girl, he asked the girl to let him go. The girl hesitated and told the man that she would only free him if he promised to stop killing people, to which the man agreed. The girl freed the man, but to avoid suspicion, the girl told the man that she would come back at night when the man in the suit was sleeping. Later that night, the girl told the boy about everything that she found in the basement, and together they stayed awake and snuck down to the basement in the middle of night. They came to free the man, but when they opened the door, the man was gone. To their terror, the man in the suit appeared behind them and asked if they had set the man free. The girl immediately stepped up and took responsibility for letting the man escape. But instead of getting upset, the man congratulated the girl and told the children that he had planned all of this from the beginning. He told them that today was the day and to take what they needed and leave, as he made his way to the rooftop. The boy and the girl took what they needed and continued on with their journey, when suddenly from a distance, they spotted many trucks full of soldiers with guns, making their way towards the city. The pair quickly ran away and avoided the soldiers. The boy and girl ran and ran until they could no longer see the soldiers. And then from a distance, a huge explosion went off as the city erupted with smoke. From a distance, they watched as the city crumbled and fell prey to the ongoing war. After recollecting themselves, the two of them continued their journey down the road, as they continued their search for a peaceful place. That concludes part 1 of JH's The Horizon. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe and to turn on notifications for more webtoons and manhwa content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.